I moved into Meadowbrook Estates on a Tuesday in late spring, and I thought I had found the perfect neighborhood. The houses were beautiful, the streets were clean, and everyone seemed friendly enough during my first week. I had no idea that my life was about to become a living nightmare, all because of one woman named Karen Hendricks, the HOA president who treated her position like she was the supreme ruler of a small dictatorship. My first encounter with Karen happened exactly 9 days after I moved in. I was unloading some boxes from my car when a silver SUV pulled into my driveway, blocking me in. A woman in her mid-50s with an aggressive blonde bob haircut and designer sunglasses stepped out, clipboard in hand. "Hello. I'm Karen Hendricks, HOA president. I noticed you haven't submitted your exterior paint color for approval. According to Article 7, Section 3 of our CC and RS, all exterior colors must be pre-approved." I looked at my house, which was painted the exact same shade of beige as every other house on the street. "I haven't painted anything. This is the original color from the builder." Karen's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Nevertheless, you need to submit the form. Also, your garage door was open past 8 p.m. last night. That's a violation. And I see you have a welcome mat that's burgundy. Approved matte colors are black, brown, or gray only." She handed me a stack of violation notices before I could respond, then drove away, leaving me standing there in complete disbelief. If you're enjoying this story of HOA insanity, please hit that like button and subscribe to Karen Eat World for more tales of neighborhood drama and epic revenge. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this one ends. Over the next few weeks, Karen became my personal tormentor. She would drive by my house multiple times a day, looking for violations. My trash can was 2 inches past the acceptable placement line. Violation. My car was parked in my own driveway, but the wheels were turned slightly toward the street instead of straight. Violation. I received a citation because a package was left on my porch for 3 hours before I got home from work. Another violation came because she claimed my grass was 1/4 of an inch taller than the maximum allowed height, which she had apparently measured with a ruler. What Karen didn't know about me was that I had recently sold my tech startup for a considerable sum. I wasn't flashy about my wealth. I drove a nice but modest car, dressed casually, and my house was comfortable but not ostentatious. I had chosen this neighborhood specifically because I wanted a quiet, simple life after years of high-stress business dealings. I had connections throughout the city, relationships built over 15 years of networking in the tech and real estate industries. But I had no interest in flaunting any of that. I just wanted to be left alone to enjoy my home. Karen, however, had other plans. The violations continued to pile up, each one more ridiculous than the last. She fined me because my mailbox flag was up for more than 1 hour, which she said was an eyesore. She wrote me up because I had a single dandelion in my lawn. When I planted some flowers in my front garden bed, she cited me for choosing colors that weren't on the approved list, even though I had checked the list and they were absolutely approved varieties. When I pointed this out, she claimed the list had just been updated and I should have checked more recently. I tried the reasonable approach first. I attended HOA meetings, where Karen ran the proceedings like a dictator, cutting off anyone who disagreed with her. I discovered I wasn't her only victim. She had driven 3 families out of the neighborhood in the past 2 years. One elderly couple had actually sold their home at a loss just to escape her harassment. But most residents were too afraid to stand up to her because she had a reputation for making life unbearable for anyone who challenged her authority. I scheduled a private meeting with Karen, hoping to resolve things diplomatically. I arrived at the community center at our agreed-upon time with documentation proving that I had been in compliance with every rule. Karen showed up 20 minutes late, didn't apologize, and immediately went on the offensive. "Look, I don't know how things worked where you came from, but here in Meadowbrook Estates, we have standards. Your attitude since moving in has been problematic. You seem to think the rules don't apply to you." I remained calm and showed her my documentation. She barely glanced at it. "I don't care what you think you have here. I'm the president, and I decide what flies in this neighborhood. If you don't like it, maybe you should consider moving somewhere more suited to your lifestyle." The way she said lifestyle dripped with condescension. That's when Karen made her crucial mistake. She escalated from petty harassment to something more serious. I came home from a weekend trip to find a citation on my door claiming I had been running an illegal business from my home, which violated residential zoning. The fine was $5,000. The accusation was completely false. I worked remotely sometimes, like millions of people, but I wasn't operating a business from my residence. When I tried to dispute it, Karen sent me a letter stating that if I didn't pay the fine within 30 days, the HOA would begin legal proceedings to place a lien on my property. I realized then that reasoning with Karen was impossible. She had tasted power in her little kingdom and had become drunk on it. She wasn't interested in maintaining property values or neighborhood standards. She was interested in control and dominance. She got satisfaction from making people squirm under her authority. I could have paid the $5,000 easily, but it wasn't about the money. It was about the principle, and more importantly, it was about stopping her from doing this to anyone else. So I started making phone calls. I reached out to some old colleagues, lawyers I had worked with during my business years, and a private investigator I had once hired for corporate due diligence. I wanted to know everything about Karen Hendricks, about the HOA, and about the legal structure of our neighborhood. What I discovered was fascinating. The private investigator's report revealed that Karen had been HOA president for 6 years, running unopposed because she had systematically intimidated anyone who considered challenging her. She had used her position to fine residents for violations that didn't exist, pocketing some of the money by manipulating the HOA accounting. It wasn't a huge amount, maybe $15,000 over the years, but it was embezzlement nonetheless. She had also approved a contract with her brother's landscaping company to maintain the common areas, paying rates 30% higher than market value. Classic corruption on a small-town scale. But the most interesting discovery was about the legal structure of Meadowbrook Estates itself. The neighborhood had been developed in 2 phases. Phase 1, where most residents lived, was under the HOA's jurisdiction. Phase 2, which consisted of 5 vacant lots at the back of the neighborhood, had never been fully developed. The original developer had gone bankrupt before completing that section. Those lots were technically part of Meadowbrook Estates for addressing purposes, but they weren't under the HOA's control because the developer had never transferred them into the HOA before declaring bankruptcy. Those lots had been tied up in bankruptcy court for years and had recently been released for sale. I saw my opportunity. Through one of my real estate connections, I quietly purchased all 5 lots. The cost was substantial, but not even a fraction of what I had made from selling my company. Once I owned the lots, I filed paperwork with the county to establish a new, separate HOA for what I designated as Meadowbrook Estates Phase 2. Since my lots weren't under the existing HOA's jurisdiction, this was completely legal. Then I got creative. I reviewed every single rule that Karen had used to torment me and others. Our neighborhood had extremely strict regulations about everything from paint colors to holiday decorations to parking. But my new Phase 2 HOA? I wrote the rules to be the exact opposite. Want to paint your house purple? Go ahead. Want to park an RV in your driveway? No problem. Want to have pink flamingos on your lawn? Knock yourself out. But I didn't stop there. I filed a petition with the county to have the main road leading into Meadowbrook Estates reclassified. See, that road ran along the edge of my newly acquired property before continuing into the Phase 1 neighborhood. The original developer had built it but never formally dedicated it to the county. Through some complex legal maneuvering and the help of a very skilled real estate attorney, I managed to establish that the portion of the road bordering my property was actually a private easement that I now controlled as the owner of the adjacent lots. Once that was established, I filed for a permit to construct a gate across the easement. This is where Karen's own rules came back to haunt her. You see, Meadowbrook Estates HOA rules stated that any property owner could construct a fence or gate on their property line as long as it met certain aesthetic standards. I made sure my gate met every single one of those standards. It was beautiful, actually, made of wrought iron with brick pillars, perfectly matching the neighborhood aesthetic. The only problem was that this gate now controlled the primary access to Meadowbrook Estates Phase 1. Technically, residents could still access their homes through a back route that added 20 minutes to their drive, but the main entrance that everyone used daily? That now required passing through my gate. Karen noticed the construction crews and came storming over. "What the hell do you think you're doing? You can't build that there." I smiled calmly. "Actually, Karen, I can. I own this property, and according to the HOA rules, specifically Article 12, Section 8, property owners have the right to construct fencing and gates on their property boundaries. I made sure everything is up to code and matches the approved aesthetic guidelines." Her face turned purple. "This is the main road. You can't block access." I corrected her. "This isn't a public road, Karen. It's a private easement, and I own it. But don't worry, I'm not blocking access. Residents will have a code to open the gate." She sputtered in rage but couldn't form a coherent argument because everything I was doing was completely legal. The next phase of my plan kicked in a few days later. I had my attorney send a formal letter to every resident of Meadowbrook Estates Phase 1, explaining the situation and offering them a solution. They could continue using the main entrance by paying me a small monthly easement fee, basically the cost of maintaining the gate system. Or, if they preferred, they could use the alternate route at no cost. The fee wasn't about the money, it was about what came next. In the letter, I also included documentation of Karen's embezzlement and her corrupt arrangement with her brother's landscaping company. I laid out exactly how much she had stolen from the HOA funds and how much the residents had overpaid for landscaping services. I finished the letter with a suggestion that perhaps the residents might want to consider new leadership for their HOA. Karen went ballistic. She showed up at my door screaming, "You can't do this. I'll sue you. I'll have you arrested. This is extortion." I remained in my doorway, completely calm. "Karen, everything I've done is legal. I purchased property, established an HOA, and built a gate on my own land according to all applicable regulations. If you feel I've broken any laws, you're welcome to contact the police." She actually did call 911 right there in front of me. When the police arrived, I showed them all my permits and legal documents. They explained to Karen that I hadn't broken any laws, and they suggested she contact a civil attorney if she wanted to pursue the matter further. But the real karma came from an unexpected direction. You see, when I sent that letter documenting Karen's financial improprieties, several residents forwarded it to the county district attorney's office. They opened an investigation into HOA fund mismanagement. The investigator discovered even more than my private investigator had found. Karen had been filing false tax documents for the HOA, claiming expenses that didn't exist, and had been taking kickbacks from multiple vendors, not just her brother. Within 2 weeks, the residents of Meadowbrook Estates Phase 1 held an emergency HOA meeting and voted Karen out as president. She tried to fight it, threatening everyone with violations and fines, but her power had evaporated. Nobody was afraid of her anymore. The new HOA board, led by a retired accountant who had been one of Karen's victims, immediately began cooperating with the district attorney's investigation. I continued with my own plans for Phase 2. I listed the 5 lots for sale with very attractive terms, marketing them as a community with minimal HOA restrictions. The contrast with Phase 1's draconian rules made my lots incredibly appealing. I sold 3 of them within a month at a substantial profit. The new owners were thrilled to be building homes in a neighborhood where they could actually express themselves without Karen-style oversight. The 4th lot I converted into a small community park for Phase 2, with a playground, picnic tables, and a dog run. It was right on the border with Phase 1, a constant reminder to Karen of what she had lost. The 5th lot, I kept for future development possibilities. Karen tried to rally support, sending emails to residents claiming I was destroying the neighborhood character and property values. But the numbers didn't lie. Phase 1 property values had been stagnant under her reign of terror, while Phase 2 lots were selling at premium prices. Some Phase 1 residents even approached me asking if there was any way they could transfer their properties into my HOA. Unfortunately, the legal structure didn't allow for that, but the fact that they were asking spoke volumes. The district attorney's investigation took about 3 months. During that time, Karen became increasingly desperate and erratic. She tried to get the county to revoke my permits for the gate. When that failed, she attempted to organize Phase 1 residents to stop paying the easement fee and just use the back route. That lasted about a week before people got tired of the extra 40 minutes added to their daily commute and started paying the fee. Karen sent me dozens of threatening letters, all of which I forwarded to my attorney. She filed a nuisance lawsuit against me that was dismissed within 30 days because she had no legal standing. She even tried to get the original Phase 1 HOA rules applied to my Phase 2 properties, but the county confirmed that my HOA was a separate legal entity with its own jurisdiction. The final blow came on a Tuesday morning. I was having coffee on my porch when I saw 3 police cars pull up to Karen's house. Officers knocked on her door, and when she answered, they placed her under handcuffs and walked her to one of the patrol cars. The district attorney had filed formal charges: embezzlement, fraud, filing false tax documents, and several counts of corruption related to the vendor kickback schemes. As they put Karen in the back of the police car, she looked across the street and saw me sitting on my porch. Our eyes met, and I raised my coffee cup in a small salute. The expression on her face was absolutely perfect, a mixture of rage, disbelief, and the dawning realization of how completely she had been outmaneuvered. She had spent years using rules and regulations as weapons to control and torment people. In the end, those same rules and regulations, applied by someone who actually understood how to use them legally and effectively, had become the instrument of her total destruction. She had thought she was untouchable in her little kingdom, but she had made the fatal mistake of targeting someone with the resources, intelligence, and patience to systematically dismantle everything she had built. The police car pulled away, and Karen stared back at the neighborhood she had terrorized for so long, finally understanding that her reign was over and that she was facing serious criminal charges, all because she couldn't resist abusing the petty power of an HOA presidency. If you enjoyed watching Karen get exactly what she deserved, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Karen Eat World. We've got tons more stories of entitled people getting their comeuppance, and you won't want to miss a single one. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.